Hi everyone, it's Chris. Welcome to Firms Consulting channel. Today we are going to talk about how to positively influence interviewer during a consulting case interview. The signals you send, both conscious and unconscious, create an impression in people's mind. That impression determines the way they act towards you and the way they interpret what you say and what you do. Moreover, the way they act towards you influences how you perform. Well, you may be asking, how is it relevant to consulting interviews? The interviewer forms an opinion of you during the first few minutes of a consulting interview, and that opinion is very hard to change. Once an interviewer had formed an opinion of you, that opinion will influence how they interpret what you say and what you do. Moreover, an interviewer's opinion of you will influence how they act towards you, and that will in turn influence how you perform. I'm sure you will agree that it is much easier to be at your best when you're with somebody who considers you intelligent and competent person. Therefore, the first few minutes of a consulting interview, typically the small talk part of it, are much more important than most people realize. So what is signaling? Signaling is taking an action that demonstrates to other people how they should profile you. For example, you can signal to demonstrate that what you're saying is true, or that your intentions are sincere. As an example, if you're getting an MBA, you are most likely very serious about building your career or succeeding in business. So you may be asking, what are some examples of signals? I am intelligent signal. If you write to lecturers at weekly ranked schools, you will notice that those lecturers are much more likely to put PhD at the end of their name versus lecturers from Stanford, Harvard, or Wharton. Do you know why that is? Well, humans are all about improving their status and image. If you work at Harvard, you do not need to put PhD at the end of your name to improve your image. Everyone knows that if you are a Harvard lecturer, then you are exceptional in some way. On the other hand, if you work in an unknown school, you want to signal to people that you are intelligent. And because the name of your school cannot signal that, you put PhD at the end of your name. I am successful signal. Another example of a signal are business suits and other business clothes people wear. The clothes you wear signal something about your standing in business and standing in life. That is why people spend so much money and so much time to dress well. Bargain signal. Think about the ads you see for products that are sold around 2 in the morning. Buy one and get one free, buy 5 and get 2 free. What are they signaling? They're signaling that, look, this is a cost game. This is not a quality game, so focus on cost. We are the cream of the crop signal. Think about top management consulting firms. They aggressively recruit people and reject people that do not fit their model. They hire the best candidates from the best schools. They aggressively train them. This is done so when you have a McKinsey, BCG, or Bain person standing in front of you in a boardroom, you know that this person is one of the best, aggressively trained, and they rejected thousands of people to hire this one person. McKinsey, BCG, and Bain do all of those things as a signal. They could do this in private. They could never divulge how they operate. Yet they don't do it privately because this is a signal to the market that they are the best at what they do. So let's think about how signals impact people's behavior. Imagine you meet someone in a supermarket and person comes to you, they dress in a very untidy way and they say something very fast. You cannot understand what they are saying and it looks like they are really, really drunk. Because of the signals this person is giving you, you will probably think, you know what, I probably need to step away from this situation. This doesn't look like a safe situation for me. Your thoughts and actions are driven by an impression of this person. On the other hand, if you're in a supermarket and a very nice, beautifully dressed, tidy lady comes to you, very polite, very friendly, well-spoken, she explains that she needs help with finding her son. You will likely help her because of the signals she has given you. When someone is treating you badly, it is partly because of the signals you have given earlier that created the impression that this is how you should be treated. We can apply this level of thinking to a romantic relationship. When you get treated badly in a relationship, it is partly because you allowed the other person to treat you badly, and you give the signals that it is okay. On the other hand, if you are treated well in a relationship, it is partly because you give signals to someone, you know what, I'm important, my time counts. This is a relationship of equals. therefore treat me well. Now, how does this apply to you in a consulting case interview? The interviewer's behavior towards you gets hardwired before you even start the case. You need to make sure that it is hardwired to your benefit. Because when the case begins, how the interviewer wants to run that case has been already set up. In fact, because the way the interviewer wants to treat you during a case interview was already preset, all other things being equal, the way you do during a consulting case interview was already predetermined in large part by the impression that you created during the first few minutes. Think about it. If someone treats you like you are not intelligent, keeps cutting you off, constantly challenging you, and not giving you the benefit of the doubt, your performance and morale will drop. If someone thinks that you are not worth their time, the case will likely never progress far enough to prove them otherwise. Remember, you have got to lay the groundwork in the beginning of the consulting interview by presenting the right signals to the interviewer. In your informal communication with the interviewer, you want to be structured, analytical, and confident. You also want to be poised, balanced, and grounded. And most people, unfortunately, mess this up. Let's imagine I'm interviewing Anna in the final round of a consulting case interview process. Anna spent a significant amount of time preparing for case interviews, and she believes that she's really good at it. However, because she feels she's so good, she doesn't take the beginning of the interview seriously. She's a little bit disorganized, she doesn't take small talk seriously. She starts the discussion meandering around, not even making eye contact, not paying attention to what I am saying. In fact, she is short on small talk. It is almost as if I'm trying to have a conversation with her and she is cutting me off by being too quick in her responses. She's dressed relatively neat, but not as neat as she could be and should be. So my impression of Anna is she seems like a nice lady, but she doesn't look like she really wants to be here. In other words, she is wasting my time. Because I created this impression in my head. When I go through cases with her, that impression is going to dictate how I'm going to respond to her. I am obviously not going to be as attentive to someone who does not seem to be committed to succeeding in a consulting case interview or even interested in me. And despite how good she is at cases, and this is the key thing, because of the way I am managing her through the cases, she's ending up having a bad case interview. On the other hand, if Anna comes in and she's witty and charming and smiling and she's just so nicely and neatly dressed, and if I have seen that she's interested, she likes to be here, she has a bubbly personality, my behavior towards her will change. She is a talented young lady, amazing resume. She wants to be here, she has so many interesting stories. I wish I could spend more time listening to her, but unfortunately I need to do this case. The way I would do this case completely changes. Now let's look at real examples of firms consulting clients who were particularly good or bad at creating the right impression at the beginning of a case interview. First, let's look at an example of someone who is very skillful at creating a very good impression at the beginning of a case interview. This candidate is about 33 years old, female, based out of Europe. Let's call her Joyce. When we did our screening calls with her, one thing that struck us is her maturity and her ability to hold a conversation. She was exceptionally good at coming across crisply, confidently, but also talking to us like we were peers. At no point did we feel that she was apprehensive, scared of the process, or unsure of herself. She handled herself remarkably well. And how does she do that? When we have a conversation with her, she pauses. She takes her time and says, "Well, let me think about that." In the first few seconds of the call, she does a lot of little things that signal she's mature, intelligent, organized. Interestingly, she behaves this way during a consulting case interview on purpose. She knows full well that she needs to manage her image very carefully, because if she mismanages her image, we will respond to that weaker image. So she creates a very strong image. Think very carefully about this candidate strategy. She deliberately works extra hard to create this right first impression, so that you will believe she is very intelligent. Because if you believe that she is very intelligent, you will not question her, at least not as much. Now let's talk about a counter example. A candidate who created a terrible impression during a consulting case interview training session. This is Rafik from TCO1. He started off his training with us in a very disappointing manner. He was always late. His laptop was not connected. Because of the way Joyce started her calls with us, on the ball, relaxed, interesting conversation, she created an impression that she was in control and she is intelligent. And because she created this impression in our heads, we responded to her like she was competent and intelligent. And because we responded to her like she was competent and intelligent, she did very well during her case interview coaching sessions. On the other hand, when Rafiq was disorganized and making a mess of things, what do you think happened during the case? Michael Stone pitched the questions he gave Rafiq. Even Michael's willingness to help Rafiq were impacted. Knowing the degree to which an interviewer's impression about a candidate influences the candidate's performance during a consulting case interview, we realized then that we had to switch gears. We had to test how the female candidate will be able to handle a hostile interviewer, someone who would be digging and questioning her. We also had to teach Rafiq how to create a positive influence at the beginning of a consulting interview. So we changed our approach with Joyce. This candidate has been so good at managing the first impression she makes that people rarely had to question her. And because people rarely questioned her, she has not developed a sufficient skill to handle deeper questions. As soon as we started digging and pointing out flaws, her performance noticeably deteriorated. We would question her, "Why do you say this? But this does not make sense. Explain to me how this works." And she would struggle to handle it. Handling digging and questioning turned out to be this candidate's biggest weakness. So the lesson is, well, you have to create a great impression of yourself. It cannot be a substitute for building an ability to handle tough questions. It cannot be a mirage. There must be depth behind the impression. What about changing our approach with Rafiq? With Rafiq, we did the same thing. We sat down with him and we said, "Look, you have to do 4 things. If you do these 4 things by yourself without us prompting you, we can assure you, you are going to start off the call magnificently." He did it, and what happens? Because he starts off the call well, he creates an impression of being competent and organized. Because he creates an impression of being competent and organized, we treat him like he is competent and organized. And what happened with his training sessions? He started doing well. You can actually watch Rafiq's sessions online and see how he is doing better after session 6. People often tell us, some people, when I do cases with them, they really rattle me. Other people, when I do cases with them, I do it very nicely, I have no problem. So how do I make sure I'm not rattled? And we tell them, the reason you are rattled is partly and sometimes completely due to the signals you are giving to the person who is rattling you. When you feel that someone is treating you badly in a case, it is likely because you have not given them the right signals early on. If they are already treating you badly, it will be very difficult for you to change the interviewer's impression of you. The interviewer's impression of you will only start adjusting if you do something extraordinarily brilliant, which is very tough to do when the other person is acting like you are incompetent. When you engage with anyone, you give them signals in the first few seconds which shape how they perceive you. Then they take those signals, process it, and profile you. The way they profile you then impacts how they act towards you. So how do you create a favorable impression during a consulting case interview? Refer to this diagram for the full list of key signals you need to give to an interviewer. However, being structured, analytical, and confident are the most important signals. We always tell people, if you show structure, analytical thinking, and you approach an interviewer like a peer, you are on your way to create the right impression during a consulting case interview. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to get episodes from some of our paid advanced programs, go to firmsconsulting.com/promo and put in your name and your email address, and we're going to send you some of the episodes from our advanced programs. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope this made you think about the signals that you are sending, not just for case interviews, but even in your day-to-day life. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, experiences you had, anecdotes. Would love to hear from you guys, and I'm looking forward to see you next time.